Welcome to the Future of Business. I'm with Steph Hinds, the principal of accounting firm Growthwise, based in Newcastle in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales. And Steph's one of the leaders in how accounting is going onto the cloud, particularly with Xero. Thank you very much for joining me, Steph.
No worries.
Now, one of the things that I'm fascinated in is this generational change that you're seeing in accounting and a lot of other professions too. You're part of that, the movement to the cloud. How do you see that all panning out at the moment?
Originally, when this started, if you had a look at who was at Xero Con maybe 3 years ago, there were traditionally a lot of really young people who were embracing this. It's easy for us. We've grown up with technology and computers. The interesting thing is we're seeing now more of the older generation of accountants actually embrace this and get really excited about it as well. Those guys have the experience traditionally of advising businesses, so it's fantastic to see them coming on board. It's slower than with the younger generations, but certainly in the last 12 months we've seen a big shift to some of the more traditional older based accountants jumping on board and really trying to work out what this thing is and what it might be able to do for their clients as well.
Are you seeing that with your client base as well? Is it younger clients or older, more established businesses that are coming across to Xero or other cloud services?
We have both. Originally, it was very easy to say, look, you need to have a look at cloud for anybody who was under 35. And we actually found the opposite. Anybody who was, post 55, because their children were driving them to a lot of technology-based things, it was really easy for them. But the mid-range, so the 40s, were really finding the questionable to start with. Should we do this? Now I think that's changing quite a fair bit. But it was interesting for us that the young ones, easy, but some of the older ones were really easy to start with as well.
Okay. Now, one of the things in Chris Ridd's keynote at the Xero Conference was that I think it was 40% of businesses are new businesses. Are you finding that sort of number?
Definitely. Look, we're finding a lot of businesses are setting up now. It is so easy to set up in business, and we've advised a lot of accountants, instead of spending $500,000 to buy into a practice necessarily, you can spend $10,000, get your licenses, a laptop, and all of a sudden you're really in business. And that's the case all the way through. So we're finding a lot of brand new people are starting up business from scratch, and we're also finding that so many people are just ready to go with brand new software because they're seeing what's happening in their everyday lives with apps on phones and all of that other stuff that's actually happening in their everyday life. Right. They're bringing that into their business life as well. So that's quite interesting and quite fun.
And that's with the apps, that's really interesting because you've got, as we're seeing at XeroCon, all of these verticals, all of these tradesman apps, that sort of thing. Do you see that driving a lot of your clients as well?
Huge. We've been big advocates and have said to Xero from day one, and as an example, we love Xero, but we don't love you just for Xero. We love you for the fact that I can say to my trades guy who's out on the road, this is GWAP. This is what drives your business. I can do the accounting back end and he can have all of his information at the click of a button, but the driver for him is mobile job management and making sure, they're billing, making sure all of those things are happening, jobs are scheduled in. And that's what we're seeing now. So we're able to offer clients very specific, brilliant applications for their businesses, and the back end accounting is just driving and flowing that from the back end rather than the front end.
Right. So you're seeing the accountants coming more to the front.
Yeah, very much so.
It seems to me that this is part of a big shift in accounting and a lot of other professions too, where we're moving from a transactional model to more of that relationship model. Is that how you're seeing business?
Definitely. Look, the transactional model has been commoditised completely. So I started as a trainee accountant and we had, those big ledger books and I was coding things and I'd go through check barts and I have to enter them into the system. Right. And accounting was doing that to deliver a set of financial statements and a tax return. Now accounting, that's done for you, really. And at some stage it'll really be done for you. So we can now do that advice, which is all about relationships, but that advice is much more fun for accountants.
It must be challenging though for a lot of those older businesses that are based on that transactional model though.
Definitely, and I think challenging because as accountants we don't get taught. Right. So we're not taught any relationship skills or selling skills or any of those things. We're taught to be analytical. We're really taught to drill down into those numbers and see what's going on. So we're trying to actively encourage unis, TAFEs and things to actually bring those skills to the forefront in commerce and business degrees as well. So huge shift for anyone who that doesn't come naturally to or haven't been trained in another field.
Right. And which verticals do you see are really picking up on cloud services?
Hospitality and retail
Right.
are really going great guns because for them they have so much paperwork. You know,
Right.
it literally is an administration nightmare and a very labour-intensive back-end administration process. Trades definitely, because again they're often mobile. They have staff. They're doing a whole host of other stuff. So those two for us are the big new shifts. Obviously we see people in creative industries, they do tend to pick things up first.
Right.
So those guys have been doing it for quite some time and they're just building momentum. But really for us, the trades and the retail hospitality.
Yeah. And so where do you see the growth for Growthwise in the next 12 months and 5 years?
In that retail,
Right.
retail, hospitality, trades, definitely trades. Because that's where we can see so much potential
Yep.
for people. I mean, having their guys not have to drive to the office to get their instructions and their things for the day, and not have to drive back in the afternoon to hand in timesheets,
Yep.
to be able to bill on the spot, get paid on the spot. That revolutionises their business,
Sure.
let alone the amount of profit that comes back to them
Yeah.
at the end of the day as well. And we traditionally see trades, a lot of trades, building, construction, industry-based people do, have a bit of drama. That it is an industry that certainly has cash flow issues.
Absolutely.
People go bust, and I think this is a huge opportunity to really change that as well. So I think that's going to be fantastic ongoing.
And that seems to me one of the big advantages there is that you're getting rid of a lot of those bad debtors, all that outstanding. You're covering inventory problems, that sort of thing.
Definitely. And it's at the fingertips.
Right.
So you don't actually have to do anything. It literally is right at the client's fingertips. Even billing for jobs. So I have a plumber who's come to see me in the last couple of weeks, and by the time he sits down to bill his jobs at the end of the fortnight or maybe at the end of the month, and this is very typical.
Sure.
You don't know what you've done, and if your diary notes aren't fantastic and perfect, you don't end up actually invoicing the clients
Yeah, you
in
miss
the
half
first
the
place.
time and half the parts that you've used. Yeah.
So this real-time data that people can actually get is just going to revolutionise that completely.
Yeah. Now going back to hospitality, that's a really interesting area as well, because my own experience is that the hospitality industry is really slow at picking this up, but it's in your experience that's obviously not the case.
Well, there's a lot of talk around the hospitality industry at the moment. So there's fantastic solutions. Deputy, as an example, is great from that HR employee perspective.
Right.
And things like Vend for retail, at the click of a button, people know when they're actually selling things.
Right.
They know when their store is actually busy with data. They know what items are selling, what is not selling. So you're getting that feedback, which great operators will know by gut what's happening.
Yep.
But the more and more people expand, they can't actually do that, and the owners aren't necessarily being in what's going on in the business every day. Now they can get that information anywhere in the world, really, at that click of a button. So, look, it's not everyone in hospitality jumping in boots and all with this, but there's certainly a lot of people who are starting to say, wow, there's an option over here for me with this.
Yeah.
Implement that, and then they go to the next level with something else as well. So there's a little bit of that buzz feeling happening.
It seems to me too, from what you've just described there, Steph, that there's also a big data angle play to this, that you can look at your clients and say you can benchmark the clients against each other, but then you can take that out and benchmark it against national and international trends as well.
Huge data thing for us. It's been one of the biggest issues for us as accountants. How do we get the data to see how clients are going, where they're losing money, where they're making money, where we can get some efficiency gains.
Yeah.
Now we have that data, so we can actually have access at real time right now at Xero Con if we wanted to know how our clients are doing, to know who really needs some help at what time, and that's invaluable for a small business owner, and certainly the benchmarking perspective to be able to say, okay, well, this person over here is earning a lot more than me. What are they actually doing? And kind of trying to source that. I see a lot of collaboration could potentially happen in that space.
Right.
I think accountants are a prime example of that. So we talk amongst each other in terms of how are you doing this and what's happening there. I think with data we'll see a lot more of that happening with small business as well.
Yeah. Now, you've had quite a few clients moving from other platforms. How difficult, because as an ex-small business owner myself, I'm still a small business owner, the thought of changing accounting systems brings me out in hives. So how difficult is it really?
We normally just show people the benefits and the things that they can actually have in real time with something like Xero. So we're not finding it difficult at all because we've basically said to the client, look, you need to do nothing.